Marks coming to you from the CHM Public Library. Welcome to the Marks for Life podcast with your hosts, Jimmy, CJ, Jared, and Joe, the Four Horsemen of Wrestling Podcast, four casuals turned Marks wrestling fans to give you a direct line to all things in the squared circle. We pull no punches, we hit hard, and we will slam you with all the info you need to know. So, ladies and gentlemen, Marks of all ages, are you ready? Because...
You know what? You just made the list.
And we're back. Welcome back to Marks for Life podcast. I am clearly not CJ. I am Jimmy. I am joined by one half of... Go on. You can do it now.
One half of the two-time reigning, defending Marks for Life predictions champions, now rechristened the Heart Fart Nation. Joe and Jared, we are now back in our second reign as champions. It's a great day in the world of the Marks for Life podcast. We were once the Jew Age Outlaws, but now we are the Heart Fart Nation.
I'm so frustrated by this. I can't believe this. This is so stupid. All right, before we get into this particular league, let's actually talk about how you fucking won this ridiculous belt again. This is so stupid. So, we were all pretty much tied up until, we had the Seth and Baron match.
Yeah.
And no, it wasn't the Seth and Baron match. It was the McIntyre and Roman match and the Bayley and Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, those were the two big deciders.
And honestly, both of those matches could have gone either way and it would have been fine, and then I would have been the champ. This is bullcrap. I was robbed. This time I was actually legitimately robbed. This is bullcrap. I'm not happy.
It once again proves that the only entity that can bring down CJ is the combined forces of me and Jared.
No, this is so... We made a commitment to stop these double championship wins. No, this is crap. I don't believe this. No. This is so stupid.
By hook or crook, I am a two-time March for Life predictions champion.
Fine. I will accept it begrudgingly, but I will accept it nonetheless.
Hey, once we start integrating AEW into our predictions, things get wide open.
Yeah, but that's not happening until the fall. At least, I don't know. I feel like we still need a discussion from all four of us to really pick it out, because All Out is probably the closest thing that we'll have to adding something to it.
Well, there's still one full WWE defense left before AEW, right?
There's one full one.
Extreme Rules, TakeOver, and SummerSlam?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that is that should be it. And then I think after that we could incorporate All Out, but that's up to what the other four and me and you. I'm partial to it only because at that point I think we'll know who everyone is at that point, and we can make a judgment call on oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I would be all for dropping whatever non-Big Four pay-per-view comes before SummerSlam, and then doing the TakeOver before SummerSlam with All Out, not SummerSlam, WWE Survivor Series.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
All Out.
I feel it needs to be all the main WWE pay-per-views. All the shitty ones could go away, and then we'll just include AEW. Cause...
Just like we don't need to have Stomping Grounds deciding the title reign.
I don't know what I'm more upset about. Am I more upset about the fact that it was Stomping Ground or the fact that YouTube won the co-prediction championship belt again? I don't know which one I'm more mad at.
See, CJ hasn't gotten a chance really to get mad yet because he's been enjoying himself on his cruise. So once he finally gets back stateside, then he can kind of really feel it.
Yeah, so I think that's next week. Next week he'll be back.
Yeah, CJ gave you the title if there was going to have to be a handoff.
Which there was. I'm more upset that I got the belt, was hoping that I'm not going to give this up, and then I have to give it up. But whatever. I don't care now.
To Jim the Anvil Knight fart and Brett the Hitman fart.
Yes, and then because now we just renamed this whole group chat of ours the Heart Fart. But that's what we should do. We should just rename the group chat the Heart Fart Nation, and then it's just you being Jim Anvil, Jared being Brett, me being Owen, and CJ being Brian Pillman. Which, by the way, he's put his group chat name as Brian. What is it? Brian Pillsbury Doe. It should be Brian Pillsbury Doe Man.
And he's please God, not this again.
And then I'm just, please God, not this again, just because it needs to. Anyway, let's get into some actual real new stuff that we need to talk about instead of dreading begrudgingly on the old stuff, because I feel like we just did that.
It's alright, this next year-long title reign, you'll have plenty of time to grudge.
Oh my God, no.
But CM Punk.
No, I like CM Punk. I don't like this. Anyway, so the last thing that I talked about on last week's minicast, just so we can get the news out there, was Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff are back at executive roles back in the stage of WWE's Raw and Smackdown. Heyman being in charge of Raw and Eric Bischoff being in charge of SmackDown. And it looks like their, I guess, influence kind of seeped through onto the TV screens, I guess.
Well, yeah, it feels like these Raw and SmackDowns kind of felt more, I guess, edgy.
All right.
And apparently that's what they're going for because they want to recapture that 18 to 30 demographic that they seem to be losing to AEW, which is why now you have Ricochet as the United States champion because everyone loves Ricochet in that demographic. And then you have all this stuff going on Raw and SmackDown now.
Yeah, and then in the fact that, they're trying to get, SmackDown pretty much ready for the Raw to the Fox transfer, this coming fall. And let's see, today's July now. That's in 3 months now.
Yeah, about that.
3 months, and they're trying to recapture some of that audience just so Fox feels more comfortable with it. Because I think Fox they really wanted something done badly. I think that.
Well,
was
I think Fox wants to get rid of some of the hokiness that's been plaguing WWE programming for the last 3 years now. I think with the whole make it feel more raw and kind of
not to be pun on
right,
that.
no pun, but I wonder what's gonna happen to Raw once the Fox deal kicks in.
Well, I mean, let's take a look at Raw because I feel like that one was probably more what Fox really wanted instead of what SmackDown.
I feel like that one was way more obvious as to what they were going for.
Yeah, so a lot of people online are saying this past Raw was the greatest Raw in a very long time,
Which could be true.
It could be true. I think it's more the fact that we haven't seen anything actually good for a very long time. That's like,
anymore.
wow, okay, something actually really good happened. We gotta call it great. So, kind of give a little backstory on that. So, Raw opens up with Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman. They had a match.
Falls gone anywhere.
It didn't finish because Braun Strowman crashed Bobby Lashley through the LED board behind them, and it exploded. And there was essentially fireworks. There was pyro mechanics going on back there. None of that was entirely real. No, but it felt that effect. And then you get the greatest line coming from Corey Graves on commentary saying, "Holy shit." Basically what we're thinking when we're watching it, but it said out loud on, the commentary team, not bleeped out.
It sounded so. It sounded like he almost was unsure about it. It's like he had someone in his ear saying, "Say holy shit," and he's like, "You want me to say what?" He's like, "We can't say that," and it's like, "All right, I'll say it."
It was probably like Paul Heyman going "Yeah, Corey, you got to say holy shit," and Corey was like, "Wait a minute, what?"
Corey, if you don't say holy shit, Brock's coming out there. Okay, I'll say it.
And then Vince was like, "God damn it, say holy shit already!" And then he says holy shit, and it felt weird. It felt like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, this was pretty good. And then, what was it? It progressed throughout the rest of the night. I don't know. What else do you want to cover for Raw?
That whole Maria Kanellis situation was weird.
It was weird, but it felt like a breath of fresh air. I actually enjoyed it.
First off, to see them on main roster TV, not 205 Live, was a surprise.
Oh yeah, and we got 205 news from that too later, but we'll get to
but
that.
It was weird. I'm like, oh look, Mike and Maria Kanellis, and then it was just this ending of Maria saying she was pregnant to stop Becky Lynch from hitting her, and then she bashed Mike on the way out.
Yeah, it totally demasculated him because he didn't know that she was pregnant again. And I don't know, is she actually really pregnant, or is that just part of the story? Because I tried to find news on it, I couldn't.
I think she said she was pregnant to get Becky from not hitting her, but then said oh, I couldn't be pregnant because you're not a man. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's her real life husband who just went to rehab. I didn't think we were gonna go this way. But
again, it's a breath of fresh air.
It felt like there was a lot of Heyman fingerprints throughout Raw this week, and you had the Undertaker promo, which was it was fine. It was Undertaker. It was a little confusing.
How many more Undertaker things are we going to be getting?
We've had more screen time with the Undertaker in the last 2 weeks than Roman Reigns.
The one who's supposed to be we had more screen time in the past several months than we had Brock Lesnar for an entire year of him being Universal Champion. All right, so let's calm down. Oh my God,
he is still beast in the bag. That's the one thing.
Boombox Brock. It's still I agree with CJ on this. Boombox Brock is probably one of the best things to happen right now. It's actually really good.
And it was unintentional.
It was unintentional, but it was really good.
But I feel like even though we're going this edgy, more over-the-top direction, maybe pushing back towards TV 14 by the time Fox rolls around.
Well,
the
I
whole
think that
Brock
should-
storyline's still hanging over our heads.
Yeah, I know. I know. And then, what's some stuff that happened on SmackDown? Because the only thing I think that really happened on SmackDown was Samoa Joe.
Yeah, Kofi flipping Joe the middle finger. That was a surprise and a half. I'm like, Kofi, you have children? New Day, ice cream bars, all that stuff? No? Pancakes, bootios?
I mean, they're laying down a lot of stuff right now, and I think...
It's a shame, though, because it's such a good feud, but you almost know Joe's not going to go over.
I don't know, because there's also been rumors that because Eric Bischoff is now in charge of SmackDown, like, as an executive role, he kind of wants to drop the Shane McMahon title win.
God.
Which, if that's true, thank you. Like, I never thought I'd be saying thank you to Eric Bischoff again in my life, but thank God.
If Eric Bischoff helps the deep push of Shane McMahon...
And helps the push of Samoa Joe, and then I will
helps
be
the
praising...
push of anyone that's not Shane McMahon. I don't care if it's Elias that gets pushed. Just someone else besides Shane get pushed.
Please, but God. But yeah.
Seems like we had Kevin Owens turning face again.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely happy about that, because you guys remember all the times in the group chat, I'm like, oh, it's going to turn face. It's coming.
Very good. Very good.
But I love Kevin Owens, and he was so good, just completely tearing into both Dolph Ziggler and Shane McMahon. And it looks like it's going to be Kevin and Dolph in the next feud, which I'm completely fine with.
Yeah, I think it would be enjoyable matches. Like, I'm very confident in both of them putting on good matches.
And he gives them something to do. Now that Dolph lost to Kofi, he's kind of been stuck in the ether.
And it's actually something new. Like, I don't remember them actually having a feud or even matches in general.
Because Owens was always a heel, and Dolph was usually a heel while Owens has been on the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was that weird storyline where Dolph left, but he didn't leave, and he was the United States champion, but he put it on the ground only to show up in the Royal Rumble and do nothing.
It's very weird. I don't know. Hopefully these are just new directions that actually progress and make Raw and SmackDown better and more enjoyable to watch. Hopefully. I can only put so much hope and like optimism on Raw and SmackDown just for so long until actual things happen. And then I guess we could still talk about the 24/7 title because that seems to be our like go-to thing just to talk about. I think this last thing was what Drake. Well, last week before this episode, it was Drake Maverick dragging his then wife through the corridors of Raw that week and trying to hunt down R-Truth for the 24/7 title, and then what was it? It was Drake and his wife like hugging in the corners. Then you see Drake Maverick open his eyes and sees R-Truth, be like, "That's real love right there."
I love that whole. Like, poor Drake Maverick. His life's actually being ruined by the 24/7
Yeah, I know. And then, what was it? This past week, they were in the middle of the ring, and R-Truth said something stupid. Or what was that? I feel like that was this week or last week. I don't remember.
Well, there was the one where Truth came out dressed up in the No Way Jose conga line.
This actually might be the thing that gets R-Truth into the Hall of Fame. Like, 100%.
It's gotten R-Truth more over. And, like, the last time he was this over was when he would randomly show up during random segments and be like, "My bad, that's on me." Like, when he thought he was in the Money in the Bank ladder match, or when he walked into the Royal Rumble and took out a ladder and tried to climb the ladder in the middle of the ring.
And then the following year when he was entered the Royal Rumble and then he tried to pin someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Still waiting for Carmella to pin him, though. Still waiting for Carmella to pin him.
And Carmella's, like, half involved in that whole Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, and Ember Moon thing. Where, like, Ember's been bullied by them, and Carmella's like, yeah, go get him, but doesn't actually show up to back Ember Moon up.
Yeah, because she's more enticed at getting the 24/7 title. I mean, come on.
She's more focused on R-Truth than
She's
she
more
is on...
focused on R-Truth, who will actually hold the title, than Ember Moon.
Actually, that's kind of sad, because now think about it. More people are focused on R-Truth than Ember Moon. That's the situation we now find ourselves in with poor Ember.
Oh, my God. I feel so bad.
Oh, Ember Moon, you deserve so much better, but the women's division has just been so Becky Lynch-centric right now.
Yeah, and it's the only thing. Again, still nothing with the tag team belts.
Apparently, the Kabuki Warriors won a live event tag team match to get a title shot.
That's even sadder. It has to be a live event in order for them to get a title shot. That's really sad.
Well, because I think it was 2 weeks ago on SmackDown, Paige said the match was going to happen, but then last week it didn't happen. And they're like, oh, we did it in like a live event, and look, Kabuki Warriors won, don't worry about it. But is this week SmackDown's in Tokyo?
I will look that up.
Because if it's in Tokyo, they're probably going to have the match this week, and the Kabuki Warriors are probably going to win. Just like when the Iconics, for some reason, won a tag team match at Super Showdown. The original Super Showdown. The better Super Showdown? Sure?
I don't know.
Like, Undertaker and Triple H was a slog, but at least nobody almost died.
Let's see. Oh, sorry about that. That's a notification.
And I hope it's just a social media tease, but WWE's social media account put out a picture this week, and it just said Imagine underneath it, and it was a picture of Undertaker and Sting. I'm like, no, God, no, Sting actually will die. If he drops Sting on his head the way he dropped Goldberg on his head, Sting's not getting up.
Well, the difference between Sting and Goldberg is that I think Sting is still more capable of being a good wrestler than Goldberg. Like, sorry, it's the fact.
But his neck is completely repaired. We haven't seen Sting since that one-off appearance for Ric Flair's birthday that was just a really roundabout way for Batista to jump him.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't have, like, a correct response on that. But, yeah, you are right. Hold on, I'm still looking to see where the frick it is. According to StubHub, the tickets for this Tuesday, the 9th, will be in Manchester, New Hampshire. According to StubHub. So.
Then was Tokyo this past week?
Yeah, I feel like they did. Yeah, they did because what was it? Yeah, because that's when the whole AJ Styles and the club and Triple H thing happened, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yes, that was the past thing.
So
that means that must have been the live event that they won the number one
Maybe.
contendership then.
That club reunion at the end of Raw was very interesting.
Yeah, I was just gonna go like speaking of the club reunion. I was actually pretty surprised. Like I know they did that with Cena, but to see it with someone actually new on the roster, and the fact that they're actually gonna be putting that again.
It's like three guys who've been on the roster for a while are hazing a new guy basically, and they're just like getting together to show this kid like, hey, you know, we belong here, you don't. Which
would make an interesting story point. I'm more interested to see, like, now that we have, like, new people kind of talking into Vince's ear, hopefully, and kind of, like, helping him navigate into more of a, you know, better show, for lack of better phrasing, that we'll see, like, maybe Finn Balor kind of confronting. I realize that Finn Balor's on SmackDown and the club's on Raw, but thanks to the wildcard rule, it doesn't matter.
My first thought was like Aleister Black going to help Ricochet, but he's also on SmackDown.
Well, yeah, to help Ricochet, that'd be cool.
But like, who's knocking on the door?
I don't know.
It's either Cesaro or Randy Orton, from what I'm hearing.
I kind of hope it's Cesaro. He's been having really good matches with Ricochet, and the fact that, you know, you have someone who's technically sound as Cesaro and someone as, like, a really good striker like Aleister Black, that actually might be a really good series of matches.
If you do it right, it could be similar to how Black and Cole had that really good Extreme Rules match at TakeOver, or was that by the Rumble?
It could be similar to how, like, this may not be, it's not as good as Cole and Black, but it could be pretty similar to Cesaro and Sheamus. Like, that 7 series that they had before they formed a
Cesaro and Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it would still be pretty good, and I would enjoy the heck out of it.
See, the way my mind works when we see like a new heel faction step up, immediately my first thought is, all right, who's gonna come help out Ricochet? Because now your wheels start turning, and you're like, who's it gonna be? It could be the Street Profits.
Oh yeah, they didn't make an in-ring debut, but they showed up on Raw, just randomly. I'm like,
I was like half tuned into the TV, and then I just hear like, oh, please welcome the NXT Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits. I'm like, what? They don't belong here. They're not here.
It's not unprecedented because, like, they did the same thing
with the Warriors.
They did the same thing with. They also did the same thing with Black, Ricochet, Ciampa, and Gargano, like at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And they also did the same thing with Owens when he was the champion. Did the same thing with, I think, No, it wasn't Asuka.
Not Asuka, no.
It was someone. I forgot who though. I'm not gonna remember it. But they have a tendency to do that, and personally, I don't like that, just because let them finish off stories on NXT. Let that be wrapped up in a nice little bow, and then send them their way.
Well, the Gargano Ciampa thing, it was kind of cool because they were still in the Dusty Tag Team Classic with Black and Ricochet, so you still saw that alluded to, and at least it wasn't like, oh, Cole and Gargano, or Gargano and Ciampa are fighting on NXT, but now they're on Raw teaming together. So I that's a little bit better, but yeah, I don't like the whole NXT champions just showing up on the main roster randomly.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was cool, so, like, I guess it kind of like turns people who are like watching Raw and SmackDown or people in the arena be like, hey, go watch NXT as well. It's really good wrestling. You get to see these guys with the solo cups. So, you know.
Or Paul Heyman is trying to create a sense of anything can happen and anyone can show up at any time.
Yeah, but I guess I'm still partial for the NXT people not showing up. Like I was more interested when Maria and Mike showed up more because they're already on the main roster, quote unquote. Speaking of them, and I guess 205 Live in general, it's reports that by the beginning of the fall season or the end of this year that 205 Live might be canceled.
Well, apparently because now that SmackDown's moving back to Friday nights once Fox takes over, and they always tape 205 Live after SmackDown. But that's on Tuesday with 205 Live so they're airing on Wednesday. But now, or now it ends right after, it shows right after SmackDown. But now you have to change everything up on the network because if you still want 205 Live to air directly after SmackDown, it has to be on Friday night. And if you want to tape it on Friday night, now all of a sudden, it's just going to throw a lot of things off if they keep the same. And if you have to do it on Tuesday nights, then you have to send a whole new crew just to go do like 3 matches for 205 Live.
Yeah, and it just seems really silly. And again, you might as well just put a 205 division or call it something better than 205 Live division. And just put them and have matches on Raw and SmackDown. It makes more sense.
I feel like they still belong better on SmackDown because they tried having them on Raw and it just felt so. There was no time. It was just a bunch of 6-man tag team matches with no story development.
I'm gonna make my promise right now. When the official announcement of 205 Live being canceled, I will do one last rant on the failed project of 205 Live. That will be my rant.
Oh, that cruiserweight division has killed careers in WWE.
It's killed careers. It's killed potential, and only brought up maybe 2 people. Buddy Murphy, who was originally not a cruiserweight, and
Cedric Alexander.
Cedric Alexander, maybe Drew Gulak, depending on where he lands afterwards, and that's about
Drake
it.
Maverick.
Well,
Drake Maverick might be the most successful person coming out of 205 Live.
I don't know about that. He's definitely got more things going. He's getting more screen time, so I guess if you want to call that success, sure.
It killed the career of Neville, Austin Aries, pretty much Cedric Alexander. Like he's done nothing on Raw now after dropping the belt to Murphy.
I mean, he had one elevator scene, if you could.
Yeah.
One elevator scene for the 24/7 title, and that's about it. You're also forgetting Enzo Amore, but then again, he killed his own career.
Yeah, there was
sorry,
nothing to do about
sorry,
that.
Enzo. We somewhat loved you in the beginning, but like towards that end thing, and with that whole situation going on, it didn't help your case. I'm just saying.
Also, what is going on with Shelton Benjamin and B. Chad Gable? Like, Shelton Benjamin had this weird thing backstage on SmackDown where, like, Shelton, who do you think is going to win the WWE title match? And he kind of just, like, smiled creepily and stared off into the distance. And I'm like, is this supposed to be something? Or is he, like...
I think that would be interesting. I think it would be cool to see Shelton Benjamin versus Kofi Kingston. That'd be...
Like, when he randomly showed up in favor and tried to go after Seth Rollins with Paul Heyman for a night on Raw.
That would be cool. I think that would be cool.
Is Charlie Haas still competing or did he retire?
I don't know. I don't know.
And, like, Chad Gable shows up with, like, a clipboard and his hair is short now and he's like... I'm like, what is this?
I don't know. They're trying out new gimmicks, and unfortunately, we're not going to get American Alpha back anytime soon. And this is really sad.
When Jason Jordan did make his return for the Royal Rumble, I think that ship is slowly starting to sail.
Yeah, I know. Like, that would have been primo time, and it would have been just fine for, like, even for, like, a 5-minute exchange. And also to give me the point and possibly the belt. But that would have been besides the point.
But, like, I would have loved... Like, because now the Revival are doing their thing on Raw, and it would have been so good to see a Revival versus American Alpha
just
on Raw again.
One last time. Even if it was, like, a subpar Jason Jordan just because he can't wrestle that well
Even
anymore.
if Chad Gable just does most of the work.
Like,
and,
just
like,
something.
you get Jordan in for, like, the big sequence of moves, and then he tags back out.
Or, like, we just need one more American Alpha kind of thing. Because that team had so much more potential going on to, like, Raw and SmackDown, and... once they split them up was probably the worst decision that they made.
They had such a good feud with the Usos, too. And they just they split them up after that and tried to draft them. Look what happened when you split the Dudleys up in the original draft. Devon became a reverend, Bubba won the hardcore title a few times. It's like, alright, we screwed up, back together.
Yeah, and during that time, Bubba, like, started putting women through tables because he was, like, a crazy maniac at the time? Or was that still...
That was earlier, too.
That was earlier?
That was, like, prime Dudley Boys. Who put someone through a table and just have, like, that really... just stone cold looking at his eye. I'm like, is he alright?
It's like, he's alright. He's a little crazy now. A little crazy.
Which now, he's a big shot in Ring of Honor, so, he's doing pretty well for himself.
Yeah.
I want.
Did you hear that story? Did you hear that story about Bubba on a Ring of Honor? What was it? It was a Ring of Honor live show, and there was like a fan talking shit about his like his still girlfriend at the time, Velvet Sky.
Yeah.
And Bubba like I don't know how he got to it, but found the guy, took him backstage, and had like a down talking to him. I don't know if he was like yelling or anything at this fan, but he took him. He's like, you need to respect women and all this crap and blah 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 blah.
That's not someone I want to get yanked out of my seat by.
Yeah, I know. Like at that point, I'd be like, oh shit, I said something wrong.
I'm out of here. I gotta run.
Be like, oh fuck, Bubba's gonna come get me.
But you just say something. You just see JBL stand up out of his chair. Like, you know what? I'm good. I'm sorry. That's my fault, man. You know, I wasn't talking to you.
I wasn't saying crap about you. As the character, man. I don't know.
Oh, did I say Velvet Sky? I meant Velveteen Dream. Oh, it totally slips my mind sometimes.
Yeah, it's just I don't know how I mixed them up. I don't know how, but I mixed them up. All right. Let's take a quick break. This is gonna be a pretty short episode, and then we'll talk about Fyter Fest.
Yeah.
Hello, Audio Marks. I am one of your Marks for Life podcast, so CJ, coming to talk to you about Patreon. Patreon is a place where you guys can go online and pledge your support to your favorite music artists, to your favorite artists, and even your favorite podcasts, like us. We at Marks for Life podcast have our own Patreon page, and we are always appreciative of our Marks for Life podcast pledges. So for only $1 a month, you too can also pledge your support to us. But that's not all. With $2 a month, you can get all of our podcast episodes, as well as a special shout out from the Shield of Wrestling podcast, Jimmy, CJ, and Joe. And even further, you can get all of that with $3 a month, plus a follow back on Twitter and Instagram. So, what are you guys waiting for? Head on over to Patreon at patreon.com. Search for us at Marks for Life Podcast. And we'll see you then, Audio Marks. Thank you very much. Back to the show.
And we're back. All right, so this past Saturday was Fyter Fest. And overall, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I know you didn't get a chance to watch it.
I didn't get a chance to watch any of it, really.
I would recommend watching it. It was pretty good. Let's try to go through the card. The only thing I didn't get a chance to watch was the 3 matches before the actual event started, and then I got up to the beginning of the Elite versus the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get a chance to fully watch it, but I did get some not insight, but I did get some highlights from the last 2 matches after that. So I guess we'll start from the beginning of the event, not so much the pre-matches, even though you had Best Friends winning over SoCal Uncensored and Private Party for that was a qualifying match for the first round buy-in for All Out Tag Team for the AEW World Tag Team Championships match at All Out. So good for them. So that's Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta winning. I'm pretty excited about the tag team thing myself. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's gonna put WWE to shame because you have WWE. I mean, there's really no tag teams are being given a chance to do well on their own right now. The Revival are in storyline with Shane. New Day is still with Kofi. And now you have the club all together, so it just feels like...
We'll see where that kind of leads for WWE's space, but I think AEW is going to be putting a lot more emphasis on the tag division, moreover, because they have a lot more tag matches than a normal WWE show would. I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's all right.
I think the fact that the presence of Fyter Fest itself, seeing how WWE is changing its entire programming mold to try and win back the people that haven't even had a chance to leave for AEW yet because their television deal doesn't start for another 3 months. But the fact that the WWE is sweating AEW so much that they're trying to change things to get people back, it just shows you.
So I guess that's kind of more of a tie into the following event. I think that's where, or was it this past event for Evolve 31? Was that also the same? I got yeah. So WWE put on one of the Evolve shows, which, by the way, was the first one that they've ever done. Put on a different promotion that they have some ties to on the network to basically compete with AEW in a sense. Hold on, let me. Did you find it yet or no?
Let me see. see, Evolve 31.
1:30. Yep, and that is July 13th. So
That's next Saturday.
yeah, so that's next week. Yeah, so that's going up against Fyter Fest. Fight for the Fallen.
Right,
My
Fight for the
apologies.
Fallen, yeah.
That's the one that they're going for. So I guess that's kind of a tie-in that they're kind of going kind of head-to-head in that sense. And there are people who are mad about that because then they have to kind of like choose.
Yeah.
But Fight for the Fallen, from my understanding, is also free on BTR Live.
I think so.
Or BR Live, I should say, not BTR Live. BR Live.
And then, well, they're going to have to choose again, in August when you have NXT TakeOver UK going up against, like, 3 other shows.
Yeah, it's like, what is it? It's All Out? It's All Out. Because that's the...
All Out, and then, was it a New Japan show, too?
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like the New Japan show, with the fact that, All Out is definitely going to be the most talked about show for the last part of the summer before their TV deal starts, I'm going to say more people are going to go for All Out in that sense. But when it comes to, like, a WWE show going up against an AEW show, that's going to be the real test of, like, real competition. I think...
Which you're never going to see that too much because most of the AEW shows are on Saturdays, and WWE usually takes Sundays, so...
Yeah, which is why they're going to probably push for more NXT shows and, hell, even probably more Evolve shows to go head-to-head with AEW, which is kind of... I don't know how I feel about it. I understand people's plight, like, oh, like, this is not really fair. You're not really putting WWE against AEW on it, so it's not really the same comparison. But at the same time, this is kind of what we asked for. We asked for competition. This is competition. This is what it looks like.
Plus, with NXT shows, like, it's going to be the best wrestling you're going to get from a WWE product. So that's the best chance WWE has to compete with an AEW event, is if it's NXT.
This is true, and I think that's kind of where my point of contention. It's not like the real WWE contention. It's the product that they know is actually really good going up against a product that is slowly starting to get there. Like, Fyter Fest was actually getting better and getting more consistent, and I'm starting to understand more of the wrestlers that are coming out of it, and we'll get back to the card in a second. But, I guess this is the best part of the competition until, like, we get to the point where it's an actual WWE product against an actual AEW product. So, I mean, if anything, we'll see what Fight for the Fallen is. We'll talk more about the implications for Fight for the Fallen when we get lower down in the card.
Yeah.
All right. So the next match on Fyter Fest was Allie defeating Leva Bates. I don't know too much about Leva Bates, but I'm glad that Allie wins.
Yeah. I know Allie.
Yeah, I like Allie as well. I think she's going to be at Fight for the Fallen as well. I don't know what match. I'll have to take a look into it. Well, let's go through the next one. Then it's Michael Nakazawa defeating Alex Jabelli in a hardcore match. Didn't see it, but hopefully it was good. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't watch the pre-show, so I don't know, and I don't have CJ, who probably watched the entire thing while he was on his cruise.
CJ's probably watched the entire thing like 4 times already, ready to come back and just talk about it.
As soon as we post this thing, he's gonna listen to it, hear how badly I'm describing the pre-shows, and like up to after the Cody match of how badly I talked about this, and then shame me for it. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, he usually shames us for a lot of stuff, so it won't be surprising.
Yeah. All right, so then we get to the main part of the show. We have Shima defeating Christopher Daniels in a singles match. It was actually pretty good, and I'm starting to enjoy Shima's performance a lot better. Now that I've seen him multiple times, he was in that triple threat match. Not triple threat match. The triple tag team match against SoCal Uncensored, and it was like his team of. I forget what it's called. Damn it, he's gonna kill me for this. I have to look it up again. It'll come to me. But Shima wins. It was very good. I enjoyed it. The following match, which is probably one of my favorite matches of the night, was Ryo defeating Yuka Sakazaki and Nyla Rose in a triple threat, in a 3-way match. And I think Nyla Rose killed it, even though she didn't win.
Yeah.
I thought she was incredible. I thought that, she was just beasting everything out. There was a couple botches in the middle of certain points in the match, and I'm glad Ryo won. But Nyla was the star of that show. I thought she was the star of that match. I thought it was incredible. It was very good. Nyla being a powerhouse woman in that division, kind of like a pseudo Awesome Kong.
Yeah.
But that she's gonna probably be one of the main stars going into the women's division once that gets more fleshed out. Then you have a fatal 4-way with Adam Page going over against Jimmy Hadjic, Jungle Boy with Luchasaurus, which is something that CJ talked about. And I saw this meme online about Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. I don't know if you saw it, but they put the comparison of those two at the Fyter Fest next to a picture of the Pixar movie Good Dinosaur with the little boy on top of the R-loaded dinosaur, and I thought it was so funny. And then MJF. And MJF, I think, came out first and just started bashing everybody. Again, calling everyone nerds and everything. It was classic MJF stuff. The Miz that we gladly deserve, essentially. And then we get to probably one of the more contentious points of the night. Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin fight to an actual draw time limit. And before we get into the controversial part, did you actually... I know you didn't get a chance to watch the event, but did you get a chance to like see any highlights of the show?
Not really. I
would say this one was probably worth... This match was probably worth watching. I would say this is probably arguably one of the better matches on the card. Darby Allin just fucking killed it. He was selling and bumping crazy. I think he should have got more offense in. But there was this one spot where he had Cody on the apron, and he was about to do like a backdrop from the top rope onto the apron onto Cody, but Cody got out of the way, so Darby Allin took a full apron spike on his back. It was nasty. It was very nasty. And it ended in a draw. Like, I thought Cody made Darby Allin look good, and I'm more excited about watching more Darby Allin matches going into AEW, even a TV spot for them. I think Darby Allin's got potential. But then the match ended in a draw, but it wasn't the end of that particular thing, because then you have Shawn Spears, the former Titan Dillinger, Perfect 10, coming out and attacking Cody Rhodes with a chair. And at first, when watching it, you just noticed that Cody didn't like put up the hand like above his face, like a lot of wrestlers do, just to protect from any serious injury. So he didn't do that, and he hit to the ground, and they left. And then later on, you start seeing this pool of blood swirling around Cody's head, because apparently, though the chair was gimmicked, as in like it's not supposed to hurt as much, but it looked like it did, that part of the back of the chair hit him on the back part of the head, and it tore some of that skin off and made a flap, and that's why all the pool of blood showed up. Now, I've also gotten updates that Cody did not get a concussion from it, but he did get several staples in his head.
Yeah, so he has completely just given his body for the first two main AEW shows.
Yeah, because I think they did the same thing at All... What was it? It was All In. All In, he did a similar thing, and... Well, yeah, All In and Double or Nothing.
Yeah, Double or Nothing, he had a really bloody match with Austin.
Yeah, and he got bled on All In against Nick Aldis for the NWA Heavyweight Championship as well. But this one, unfortunately, it was a... I don't know if I could call it a botch, but from all intents and purposes, and even from some stuff I've seen online, it looked like a botch.
Yeah.
Because the idea was just that it was supposed to just knock him out. But apparently, like, that part of, like, the back of his skull, like, skin flapping out and the blood pooling out, like, that wasn't actually planned. And there's been a lot of, like, contention. A lot of people have been giving them slack for Cody not protecting his head, but, like, what was his hand in front of the face going to really do about protecting the back of his head?
Right, you really couldn't do much about that.
Yeah.
Unless his hand would have deflected the chair away a little bit.
Yeah, so, like, what was he supposed to do? Like, put his hand on the back of the head, and then, like, the skin would have teared off on the back of his hand instead? Like, I don't know if that would have made it better. But people thought, like, he would have gotten concussion from it, but apparently there was protocol, that he didn't get a concussion, and even posted that he didn't get a concussion, only the, like, 10 staples that they got. So, and a lot of people were wondering, like, oh, is he going to be ready for, like, 2 or 3 weeks later for a Fight for the Fallen? And he put out a tweet after, like, the 4th of July weekend saying, like, yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah. I mean, he knows that all the complaints that all wrestlers have had about companies in the past taking advantage of them medically, so I'm sure he has plenty of protocol in place for anyone who gets hurt.
Yeah, plus also with the company kind of heading into direction of employment, giving them, like, benefits like health insurance, I don't think what's the word I'm looking for? Them worrying not that they're gonna like have problems with like injuries and everything like that, not be like make sure that everyone is like safe and secure. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is one of the problems I think it is that this happened and they didn't really like have respect for the product, I guess, because a lot of people have been giving him slack for like, oh, he should have protected himself by putting the hand up. And at the same time, this is something that us fans have been wanting, kind of, in a sense. But, you know, just because of, like, all the head injuries and then later in life, like, understanding, like, concussions and from what JR was kept saying on commentary, which is the other point of contention, like, CTE, that's, like, a serious thing that we kind of need to, like, be aware of. But going to the second part of the controversy was the part of the commentary of it. During that instance, they kept talking about, they kind of like gave away the how do you say it? They kind of broke kayfabe a lot by saying, oh, like he got a head injury, oh, he should have put his hand up. And like when we're watching like a WWE product and something like that happened, they would never ever say that because it's taboo. You're never supposed to say that.
Like back a few years ago when Enzo went through the ropes and actually knocked himself out and concussed himself, they didn't say like, oh, he should have slid down under the rope better or anything like that.
He should have he should have like kept his head down more when he was sliding, or like, he
shouldn't have ran so fast. You know,
yeah, like they didn't really do that. So there's been a lot of I've seen like more prominent people like who understand like the commentary of it. Like I've heard from other people on podcasts saying like, oh, that's like what really annoyed the crap out of me was like the commentary. And I kind of ask like, is the commentary team on AEW good? I kind of need to ask that question.
I feel like they're trying to break the fourth wall a lot to make it seem more real, but I feel like sometimes there's... I mean, I was not a huge fan of the commentary when I did watch Double or Nothing.
But did you like the All In comment? Did you watch All In?
No, I didn't.
No, okay. Out of like the people that are on commentary, are there any good people on it? Because I have a point of contention with JR, and I'm not putting hate on JR. It's just I think his role is better suited for like training new people. Like I'm more upset that he's kind of doing it because he doesn't really know the product, and he's kind of saying like silly things like CTE when people kind of already know like you don't get tested for CTE until like the person's dead.
And that was the issue with like JR when he was working with New Japan. It was like he didn't know a lot of the wrestlers. He didn't know a lot about the style that was being put in front of him. So I think you're kind of in an issue of, especially when you don't have him, like at least if you're on WWE, you have weekly television events every week just to figure out what's going on.
And when you're with a company that's doing TV every single week, you get a chance to talk to them backstage. You get a chance to interact with them, so you know. So, you know, that was probably a benefit of JR being on WWE television, but there's no AEW television yet, so I don't know if that's going to help.
It's just been I feel like he's been in the business for so long, being used to seeing and doing one style of commentary that it may not fit with today's. Like, there's a reason why Michael Cole sticks out so much in today's kind of wrestling landscape, because it's not like he's an old style, he's an old guard kind of still in there.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, I love JR's commentary. It's just like, when it comes to like right now, I don't think it's a fit for AEW. That's kind of the problem. I like Excalibur. I think he fits very well. I just think they need to find someone else, and I don't know who that person is.
Because like with JR, when WWE did that thing before he signed with AEW, where they would bring him out for like that one really big match at WrestleMania, like when it was Undertaker versus Shane McMahon, I think they brought him out. Like usually any Undertaker match, they would bring him out to have him call it, and it makes sense because it's a huge moment, and the style of match that Undertaker works is a lot more fitting to the commentary, to JR's commentary, because Undertaker can do a big move and really like let the emotion sink in and not go for another spot right away, and it lets JR kind of fill in the gaps.
Yeah, you know what AEW needs? They need like their own Mauro Ranallo. That's what they need. Like Excalibur doesn't have that. He's more of like the color commentary guy, from my understanding of it. Not so much a heel, but more of a color guy. But they need like a better play-by-play person who's bombastic, like Mauro Ranallo, and an older JR. Like a younger JR.
Because like it's like if you brought in Mike today and put him on commentary, like he just doesn't fit with today's kind of indie style wrestling that AEW is going for.
Yeah, they need someone. I don't know who that person is.
CM Punk. It might be CM Punk.
No, because he can't play by play. That's not CM Punk style. He's a color guy.
Yeah,
he was a color guy when he was doing it in WWE,
and it was great.
And That's just how he will be.
John, you spilled my diet soda.
All right. Now this is okay. So now the last two matches are the matches I still haven't got a chance to watch yet, just because I've been crazy busy with working from Tuesday to as soon as this podcast is over on Saturday. But probably getting this podcast out late to you guys because I care about you. Joe cares about you. CJ only because he's on vacation.
CJ cares more about his vacation than he does any of you.
Sorry.
Or his title belt.
And then Jared, I don't know what the fuck. Yes, he I don't know. That's your department on that one. He's your other half.
Right, yeah. I mean, I feel like it's going to be like, I'm going to be the Paul Heyman of this group. I'll just come on and be like, is he coming? Oh, he might come on. He might cash in.
Oh, boy. But, I think, yeah, so this is the part where it's going to be difficult to describe. The Elite beat the Lucha Brothers and a Laredo Kid, and to be honest, I don't know how I feel about it, because I feel like at Double or Nothing that the Young Bucks beat the Lucha Brothers, didn't they?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Isn't the whole point for at some point the Lucha Brothers to take the AAA tag belts back?
Yes, so there might be like a story involved in this. Who knows? Maybe All Out they'll get like that victory, and then they'll be like the World Tag Team Champions. Who knows?
Or it might be on a AAA show.
Maybe they'll have to be the AAA champions and the AEW Tag Team Champions. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's cool, like the way that they came out. The way that they came out for their entrance. I think the Elite has like a New Day-esque kind of feel to it, but more like, how do I say this? It's not kid friendly, but it's also not like grotesque or anything like that, because they came out in like Street Fighter like esque attire. So you had the Young Bucks as Ryu and Cade, I think his name is. I forget. Ken. Thank you. And then I forgot what Kenny Omega's character was, but it was really cool and I really enjoyed it. And you had the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid come out, and Laredo Kid and I think Pentagon were the only matching ones, and Phoenix was in his own kind of thing, but they all looked really cool, and hopefully the match was good. I mean, that match particularly was the longest one on the card. It was 20 minutes and 50 seconds. So my hope is as soon as this podcast is over, I get time to actually watch it, and hopefully I'll have like a better understanding of it when like next week when CJ comes on, we could talk about it in depth. And then the last match was a non-sanctioned match between Jon Moxley defeating Joey Janela. And I don't know why it had to be a non-sanctioned match. I think it's kind of silly.
Just because Jon Moxley's nuts?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, another point of like criticism that this is kind of getting is that like there's no difference between the Jon Moxley character and the Dean Ambrose character.
Yeah. Except
for being just slightly more violent. But like this particular hardcore style match was good, but it's not like up to the level of violence that like it could have been because of their ZZW like upbringing, I guess you could say, which I think is kind of a good thing considering that there's like a TV deal on the line and that you're trying to also compete but also like not shun people from like that particular style of wrestling. So I mean that match was long too. That match and the Cody Rhodes match were about the same at 20 minutes. Those were like the three longest matches on the entire card. Was the Cody Rhodes one, the Elite versus the Lucha Brothers, and the Jon Moxley Joe Janela match. So that was Fight for the Fallen. It was good.
Fyter Fest, you mean?
Oh, Fyter Fest. My bad. All these Fight for the Fallen. It's too much. It's too
many Fs.
Too many Fs. Which I guess is the point. One interesting thing about this, I guess we can also talk about, was the ticket sales for this. There was not. It wasn't as big or didn't sell out like it was supposed to. Apparently, only like 5,000 people attended to this one, which is still pretty good for like a pay-per-view-esque match. But it wasn't like an all-out, all-in, or Double or Nothing.
I think the fact that Fight for the Fallen is in only like another 2-3 weeks, I think is something that might have hurt this event.
Yeah,
because I feel like some people might have only wanted to pay for one, or like to pay for tickets for one.
Yeah, and also the fact that they put this one free on BR Live. Like, if you can watch like a free one instead of like paying to go to an actual wrestling one, that would probably be worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how I feel. I feel like going to an actual there's something about going to an actual wrestling event that's just far better than actually like watching it.
I've never been to a live pay-per-view. I've only been to like a live broadcast of Raw.
I've been to several live broadcasts of Raw. I've been on several pay-per-views. Like there's a different feeling. It feels. I don't know. Like when you go to like a Raw, like an actual like live Raw, it feels different than like watching it on your television.
Yeah.
That's kind of my point. But if you don't have that kind of money, and also because of like the market they were in Daytona. Like I understand that's like a hop skip away from Jacksonville, which is their home base.
Yeah.
But if if you'd rather not spend the money and like watch it at home online on your computer on like whatever streaming device you have, I guess it's better than nothing. So there's that. I think Fight for the Fallen is the same thing. They're kind of in that same boat. Yeah.
But something apparently that AEW is kind of pushing for now that could put them on another level of competing with WWE. Apparently they're trying to push for a video game of their own and trying to bring back the old gameplay engine that was used on No Mercy on the N64. So, like, I'm wondering if maybe they can do that, try and recapture a video game that a lot of people think is the greatest wrestling game ever created. And I think with all the personalities that you won't see in a WWE game, like the Young Bucks, Cody, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, all these people, and maybe they can find if they can get a legitimate video game off the ground, and I don't mean like TNA Impact, if they can get an actual video game off the ground, I think that would be a huge turning point in starting to, because WWE's video game itself is already starting to be a little interesting, because we know that Ukes is trying to break away and make their own game, so it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what else. What else is there to talk about for? I mean, I guess we could also talk about Fight for the Fallen. Fight for the Fallen's coming up in like a week from now. So by the time the next podcast rolls around, I guess we can be telling you guys to enjoy Fight for the Fallen. Let's see what the card looks like for Fight for the Fallen. Talk about that before we close out this podcast. Fight for the Fallen. And then our trusty resource site, Wikipedia. Alright, so the official matches for Fight for the Fallen, there's 5 confirmed matches. So, this would be an interesting one. The one match on there is Brandy Rhodes officially entering a wrestling match on AEW or, AEW television, pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it, against Allie.
Yep.
So that'd be interesting. Then you have Kenny Omega versus Shima. And during that Shima match with Daniels, that was kind of like one thing to talk about, because there was like a almost a rivalry between Shima and Omega, and that's what a lot of the commentators during that match were talking about. And because Shima won, it kind of gave him like a little bit of a boost, but so did Kenny. So like it'll be interesting to see that contrast for the match that's happening on Fight for Fallen. Mm-hmm. Because Cody Rhodes only has the 12 stitches in his head, and is able to wrestle. I guess the match between him and Dustin versus the Young Bucks will still happen.
I wonder if Cody can take a Meltzer driver now.
Oh my god. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Oh my god. Another match that's going to happen was Adam Page versus Kip Sabian. During that Fatal 4-Way match at Fyter Fest, Kip Sabian was on commentary, like studying Adam Page. And I think Kip Sabian was also in the Battle Royal that they had at Double or Nothing. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Kip Sabian will be an interesting player in the whole main roster part of AEW.
Well, it looks like Adam Page is getting a ton of momentum before that AEW Championship match, and just keep racking up wins.
I think that's where they're gonna like put a lot of. That's the real foundation. They're gonna put like the belt on Page, most likely. I don't see how they wouldn't put it on Page.
I don't see how they put it on Jericho.
I mean, it's possible. We'll see. I mean, I've seen crazier things. I mean, R-Truth is like a 16-time 24/7 title. Like crazier things have happened.
Jinder Mahal is a former WWE champion.
But I think putting the belt on Adam Page would probably be the smartest thing, and to put him on like a lot of matches to get people like aware of who Adam Page is probably the smartest thing to do.
Because everyone already knows who Chris Jericho is. Now you need him to have a few really good matches before that point to get people talking about him.
And to be fair, Adam Page is a really good wrestler. Like, he was probably one of my favorite people like watching. He was very good. And then we have another 6-man tag. We have Jimmy Havoc, Darby Allin, Joey Janela versus MJF, Sammy Guevara, and Shawn Spears. So that would be very interesting. But yeah, that's Fight for the Fallen right there. That's also another. That's another charity show, by the way. That's also free on BR Live.
Yeah, I guess the next paid show for them would be All Out.
Yeah, because I think these two ones were more charity ones that they're gonna give money to, so that's why. I think that's why like more people were more inclined to watch it free than like pay money to go watch it. So let's see how it happens. But yeah, that's about it. Any other words you want to talk about, Joe?
I think we hit everything.
We hit everything? Alrighty then. Guess that's the show, guys. We'll see you next week.
With the champ.
Thank you, everyone, for staying tuned to our podcast. Special shout out to the Sachem Public Library for the continued use of their equipment and space. Continue supporting us by rating and subscribing through Patreon, Audio Boom, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, Deezer, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, and the big three, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts at Marks for Life Podcast. Also, check out our YouTube channel, Marks for Life, for our podcast playlist and other content. Please follow us on our social media on Twitter at Marks for Life Pod, Instagram at Marks for Life Podcast, our Tumblr page, Marks for Life Podcast, and our Facebook page, Marks for Life Podcast. And email us at marksforlifepodcast@gmail.com for any comments, questions, or feedback. Until next time, Audio Marks.